We formally start submitted to the legislature by the end of October. But the period for justification of the budget does not end. So let me give other ministries and agencies a clue that what Monrovia and his team are doing here today, they are also justifying the budget. And they are making a claim for support of this program. And so my sister, Dean of the Cabinet, Mr. Beslow, I regret that before I came, your very inspiring comments were in the concluding stages. But thanks for launching it. Our ambassadors, Ambassador of the EU, Sweden, China, and others are here. You've been very supportive to government in a lot of ways. Thanks for coming. And our colleague ministers, Mr. Kura, MD, our chairperson, Kamara, and others, our chiefs, those Abodios, and Big Brother T. Max and Chief Trocon, friends, members of the media, of the press, citizens. You've asked me to give you the budget allocation. I will try to be as short as possible. This engagement was not meant to be too technical. So I need to tell you that the budget, the fiscal 2025 budget, is in the tune of $880.7 million US dollars. 880.7. Last year's budget was in the tune of 738.9. So this is a significant growth, but given the requests that came to us during budget preparation, the request exceeded $2 billion from all the ministries, agencies, branches, and whatever. And for them, that was the minimum requirement to run their entities effectively. Minimum requirement, above $2 billion. And we had $880 million to divide. And that's the time you, as a budgeter or fiscal person, you get very sad. Because you have to prioritize priorities. You have to deliberately frustrate. And that's the time you lose friends. But this job is a job where you just have to be friends with individuals, good. But once you've done your job, you've done it honestly, diligently. You know, the friends you lose today will understand tomorrow. So we have an $880 million budget. And let me say this, budget is just nothing else than projection. I've taught a budget course sometimes in the past at the University of Liberia or asking and I carry a physical budget book to class. And after all, I said, let me give you the answer. I took the book, I showed the book to them. I said, budget is nothing but a conglomeration of sheets. Nothing. Yeah, all of books. That's it. It's just a book. Just a book. Nothing else is but sheets. But this book is taken most seriously because what we put in there, we put time, we put sweat, we put analysis, we put discussions, we do synthesis, we do arguments, and we do deliberations at the legislature, and we end up with this. This captures the plan for the government for 1 year. This is the promise of the government to the people, captured in law. So the budget is a law for the period. And these estimates are meant to align with the development agenda. And let me give you this. The most important document in a country is the Constitution. The most important document. The next most important document in a country should be the development agenda, where an administration will tell you where it tends to go, and everyone should align with that plan. For the government of Liberia, we have the arrest agenda for inclusive development that we call the AID. And then coming out of that agenda should be the budget. So ideally, the budget should be aligned with the agenda. So, and then we have ministerial sectoral allocations, then we have programs, and whatever. At the time we were completing the budget, we had not formally launched the AID, but we were on two tracks, formulating the AID and formulating the budget. And we were the same ones doing both. So largely, this budget is aligned with the AID priorities. And you know the arrest agenda, the agriculture, rule of law, you know the rest. In terms of allocation, it is broken down into what we call the public sector investment program that we call PSIP. And the PSIP captures projects that are executed over the period by various ministries and agencies and entities in the government. And then recurrent spending. The recurrent allocation is upwards of 80%. The PSIP is lower than 20%. But let me say that the recurrent allocation, as we'll see in the budget, requires some explanation. Because some of the things we call recurrent have lot of development implications. A lot of analysts will routinely go to the budget and say the budget is skewed more to recurrent and not to development or not to capital. And that's one of the main criticisms of the budget. But let me explain something that we as the Ministry of Finance and the government, we control, we make decisions with partners and others and sector ministries on allocations that come from the development space. Whether it is with the EU, or the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and some of the bilateral partners who channel most of the conversation through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In that regard, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is also a generator of revenue. Let me thank my sister for assisting in that direction. So the flows that we have do not only come from the government budget, they also come from partner support. But we know both. And we are in the conversations for both. And then, more often than not, the recurring implication for partner support is part of government. And so the government's budget will have to take most of the recurring implication for some of the development spending that partners engage in. So it's one of the reasons why the government budget gets skewed more to recurring. Because if those recurring expenditures were not there, some of the development expenditure will not go on. So that's one thing I want to explain. In terms of allocation, we have all the sectors. These are technical things. Let me give you this. Compensation to employees. The total is about 315.6 million. Goods and services, 138.7 million. Subsidies, this is subsidies to schools, some of which are community colleges across the country. 2.9, when you look that under the recurring subsidy is included. But the monies we give to colleges and what have you, they are needed developmental. So we're doing budget modernization this year so as to put the actual expenditure in the categories. Because this recurring PSRP split has a lot of noise. I don't believe in these figures a whole lot. So we're going to deconstruct and put the spending where they need to go. We have domestic liabilities, 77.9 million. And then foreign liabilities, 75.1. Social benefits, 21.8. Let me come to this issue of liability. It's too big a word. It has to do with debt. Let me talk about the debt situation a little bit, just 1 minute. Our entire debt stock is about $2.58 billion as a government. Our external debt is about, I think, 1.1 something billion. And domestic debt is above $1 billion. Domestic debt is above $1 billion. So all what government owns domestically is higher than the budget. I know a lot of domestic debt claimants feel that all you need to do is to go to the Ministry of Finance and will pay you. Yes, we see your claim, but we have to start on your payment over time. Because if we pay you fully and pay everybody fully, we have to go credit some money. We'll not be able to pay civil service for the month. And so our debt situation, we are in a category called moderate risks of debt distress. We have low risks, moderate risks, and high risks. Our debt to GDP ratio is around 56%. When you hit 60%, the red light flashes on you. Then you become high risk of debt distress. It has a lot of implications. In managing the government's debt situation with the IMF and others, we have to monitor this. We have to monitor our threshold. And then it has a lot of implications. I don't want to get into those details. So, the debt service burden for this year, in terms of what we needed to pay this year, was about $330 million of dollars. Yes, we owe 2.58, but what we were required to pay this year, 300 and I think 38. I was in the job, we did the HPA completion. We had our external debt of almost $5 billion cancer. Domestic debt was practically negligible. We have a new reality. At the time, before I left, our debt service, so no one should get phobic when you say it depends on the use for which the debt is contracted. Because just as people in the economy, if you take debt and will help you to expand the economy, that debt helps your situation. It reduces your debt to GDP ratio. But if you take debt, as a result, you use it frivolously, it adds up to the numerator, it doesn't expand the denominator. You guys know math more than I do. You know what happened to the quotient? You know what happened to the quotient? So debt, we shouldn't get so electrical here debt, because debt can be good, debt can be bad. So our duty as the Ministry of Finance is to be able to guide the country, guide entities to make sure that whatever we are contracting is for good purposes. The rate of economic return is high. So I just want to stress that. So in this budget, in terms of allocation, one of the things we allocated, we have a constrained fiscal envelope, but we have almost 15 million allocated for salary increases and top-ups across the government. Everyone's salary has not been increased in this budget. Let me repeat. Everyone's salary has not been increased in this budget. Not a dime was added on salaries of employees of the Ministry of Finance. Not a dime was added on salaries. I see Minister Daniel Sando looking at me. I know you want me to clarify the Ministry of Information. Not a dime was added on the salary of employees of Ministry of Finance sector. Became one of the biggest beneficiaries of the salary increases for this year. Many medical folks got significant increases. When they have pay levels, those that are below were put to those levels, and those that are already at those levels might not have benefited much. But there was a significant increase. We are paying the salaries of police officers, agricultural extension workers. We also have appropriation in this budget for some top-ups for teachers. Some teachers who were paid below their pay levels. Some teachers who were paid below their pay levels. So there are some teachers that did not get an increase. Those who were paid below their pay levels, we decided to put them to their pay levels. And I could go on. And let me say, one of the things I think we've achieved is that I think we have now put the judiciary, the pay of judges and people on the bench at their pre-harmonization levels. I repeat, this budget has ensured that judges are now being paid practically at their pre-harmonization levels, and that even there have been top of the salaries for magistrates across the government. We listen to the case of the judiciary. People in the in that sector, they are barred from doing business, unlike others. So, the plight of judges was taken very seriously in this budget. And so, there has been some good increases. We know that we can never reach a point where we say we have reached heaven on anyone, but where we are today is not where we were yesterday. So, let's have good friend. Okay. I don't want to take up too much of the time. In the question and answer, I'm getting to details. But so there's just a snapshot. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. A very good snapshot indeed. Thank you. Very good snapshot indeed. And so we don't want one man to sit down and get too bored. So what we want to do is to take another double tap to present, and then we will take questions from you. Please take note, but please remember, all people will not go to heaven. Remember that. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you. Of the government's commitment to open dialogue and inclusive governance. Let me start my discussion previously on what the Minister of Finance has said. You've heard the Finance Minister explain the challenges and the revenue, finance numbers. We at LRA are responsible for raising those revenues, especially the component that is domestic revenue. And let me start off by also explaining that is financed by domestic resources. So what that means is that we are actually flipping that narrative, which is very good for us as a country, because our long-term development needs support from them but in large measure, we need to all work hard to increase our domestic revenue mobilization drive. I want to emphasize that last year was a really good year for domestic resource mobilization, because this year, like the minister explained to you, this year's budget, the revenue envelope in the budget is 880 plus million. Of that amount, 804 million is to be raised as domestic revenue. So what that means is that if you compare to the numbers from last year, that is 804 million as compared to the 690 million in last year's budget, I'd just like to dovetail a bit on a statement because it's so very important for our purpose. We sang the national anthem here, but there's a second stanza that we usually don't sing, and there is a phrase in our second stanza that I like to us domestically will be breeze for all of us. What that means is that, like she said, you have rights but you have responsibility. Part of your responsibility is the payment of your taxes. And this is what we want to admonish all of us. Like, just pay your taxes. Tax regime will make Liberia to be compliant with what the global standard is, and as well as be on par with our sister countries in the sub-region. Because in the entire sub-region, I think it's only Liberia that has not transitioned to value-added tax system. We are still using the goods and services tax, which everyone is moving away from. The value-added tax brings a lot of benefit, and because this is not a technical discussion, we will not go into depth. But believe me when I say so, because what it does is it will help to increase compliance for other taxes. It's also a fair tax system to the consumer, because it doesn't do something called cascading. And if this were a technical discussion, we would have been able to provide more in terms of that. But the value-added system is good for Liberia. And thankfully, the government has now passed that law last year, and the implementation is still expected to start in 2026, mid-2026. We are also carrying out some reforms in the real property space, because real property is one of our strong competitive advantages in raising domestic revenue. Unfortunately, we are not doing the local government law and under the revenue sharing law. The local authorities have a stake now, they have a percentage in certain kinds of revenue that we collect in their areas. So we are embarking on working with local governments, so that the local governments, we will treat them, we will work with them along with our colleagues at Ministry of Finance, so that they can work with us in collecting some of those different tax kinds, including real estate property tax. And then the revenue we generate from there, as we do those collections together, then the law has specified a split that they will get a share of that revenue and will stay right there for the local use by the municipalities and the local governments, and then the other part go to the national government. As a matter of fact, in Monrovia here, we are currently working with the Monrovia City Corporation and the Painesville City Corporation, so that we can begin to implement those, so that those two municipalities can work with us in raising real estate taxes, and then they get a share in accordance with the law. We are also doing digital mapping. The Land Authority, thanks to support from our partners, particularly Sweden and others, they are conducting mapping and valuation of real property. That is something that will really enhance domestic resource mobilization, especially as regards real property tax. When we have the properties valuated, we know where they are located. We have a system where we can identify the owners. We have the contact details. It makes it easier for us to communicate with them, and hopefully that will enhance our domestic resource mobilization. We are also implementing an excise tax regime, and the excise on tobacco products, for instance. There is excise on alcoholic products. Those ones are health taxes. For public health considerations, countries usually impose an additional tax on those things because of the impact that it creates in terms of public health, and then hopefully the government will use that money to be able to mitigate some of that impact. Also, there are local manufacturing going on, and as a way of protecting those local manufacturers, the goods that they produce, government will impose taxes, extra taxes on them, or anyone who wants to bring in and import similar goods that are being produced locally. So we are hoping that what that will do is to strengthen local manufacturing. Of course, the Ministry of Commerce will have to work to make sure that there's fair pricing, and in terms of the what consumers eventually pay. But what it will do for us is, one of the things it will come back is it will ensure that smuggling is minimized. So we have excise stamps, and we want to encourage the public, when you're buying beverages, whether it's beer, whether it's soft drink, whether it's alcoholic beverages, please make sure it has the LRA stamp on the top. Because if it doesn't have the LRA stamp on it, then it means it's most likely they now follow the LRA system, and the government may not be getting the requisite revenue. So when you go to buy any of those things, any beverage at all, even water, make sure that the bottle the store is serving you or the supermarket is giving you has the LRA excise stamp on it. That's how you guarantee that the money you pay, the fair share that's supposed to come to government, comes to government. We believe that by all of us working together to ensure that that particular system works well, it will ensure that the government gets the requisite revenue that is needed to support our development agenda. We are also doing digitization. Technology has advanced so much now that by leveraging those advancements in technology, it helps us with increasing the taxes. So we are also on our front leveraging some of the existing technologies to ensure that we can increase domestic revenue. We are expanding the deployment of electronic fiscal devices. Now, usually when you go to the supermarket to buy, you will notice that they have a cash register where they enter the information for the goods you buy, and then they give you a receipt. So we are bringing in devices where we will own those devices that are there in those stores and shops. So you can do your register, but then on our system. So that way, the Revenue Authority will get the real-time sales information. As you're selling your goods to your customers, we know exactly what you're selling. What that does is that it helps us with preventing under-declaration. Under-declaration is, and I need to explain this a bit, Mr. Moderator, I hope I got some time. Our tax system obligates the taxpayer to come and tell the Revenue Authority that, look, this month, the business I made, this is how much I made. Based on that self-declaration, the Revenue Authority then will calculate the taxes that the business is supposed to pay, and they pay those taxes. Of course, the problem we've had with that is that people will make 500,000, and they will come and tell us that we made only 50,000, or we made only 100,000. So the way to combat that now, especially for retail merchandising businesses, the equipment you're using as your cash register, we will provide and sit down on your counter. As you do your sales, you can be able to get real-time information on what your sales actually is. Even before you come to us, we already know how much you sold for that period, and that way you cannot, under-declare or prevent yourself from paying the requisite taxes. For that one also, we need a public cooperation, because those devices will print out receipts. So what we want to admonish the public to do for us is every time you go and buy something like that, register it there. Even if you eat in a restaurant, please request for the receipt, the print out in our system. Because if they print out the receipt, then the system will know that that sale has been made. But if they don't print out our receipt, then there's no way for us to know, and they may not report it to the revenue authority. So we in the public can help. Just ensure that after eating, when you pay your bill, let them give you the receipt from the system. From the you should see it clearly spelled out with a tax amount, everything indicated. Once you get our receipt, then you are guaranteeing that LRA and the government will be able to get its fair share, of the taxes from the sales that you promoted our business with. We are also collaborating with a company to give us a level of assurance in the digitization space. Now, many of us here use mobile money. In fact, mobile money has made it so very easy to pay for things. You go to bar, you just pay with mobile money. Or you want to send money to somebody, you just send it to the person can go to the mobile money place and get the money out. However, those transactions, the mobile money operators have been paying taxes on it. But the problem is, we don't know how much they will come again and declare, like I told you before, that they period here, that only they won't we made. So we're bringing technology now that every transaction will be able to see it. If people pay fee on that transaction, there is technology that will tell us. Even for the scratch card, when somebody buys scratch card and put it in their phone, we will know, LRA will know right away that far out the person put on their phone, we will know that somebody paid far out to turn off their phone. So that technology will give years old. It's really a big one. So we will know, that technology will make us to know in real time. I'll be sitting down, we'll have a tablet, and the application will be only like the room sitting down here. I'll be looking at it, and I'll be able to know how much the government making. As you carry on your phone, or you send money to your NTE channel. Once you withdraw it, the fee she pay, the share of the government will know it right away. So it's very good. Also, we are also doing it in the giving sector. A lot of people do sports betting, they do gambling and all these things. They will also give us visibility. So when you buy tickets, the taxes that are due on it will be able to get all that information in real time. So the whole live date, we were hoping that we would have gone live the middle of this month. But there are some small delays in getting all the things set up and configured. We might delay by about a week or two. But when the time comes, we will announce it publicly. Right now, we are working with the operators to make sure that all of the configurations are done properly. But once the whole live day comes, we will announce it to all of you so that you can all know that those technologies are coming into effect. Another thing that we've embarked on, and I think the public needs to know, is that we have a tax system called LITAS, Liberia Integrated Tax Administration System. That system has been working in Monrovia because it is internet-based. The challenge that LRA has had is that we have offices around the country, but we have not been able to roll out the system in those places because no reliable internet. The same thing with our custom system. Those of you who are importing goods through the free port, you will know that there is a system called Asakuda, which is our custom administration system. The plan has been all along for us to deploy this system also at all of our border posts around the country. However, that system is also internet-based. And because of that and the internet challenges in the counties, we have not been able to do that until now. So towards the end of last year, and thanks to the World Bank, we were able to acquire 50 Starlink devices. Starlink is a new satellite company that can make you to get internet connection anywhere so long as the satellite footprint is in that area. So we've gotten those devices and we are deploying them now so that we'll have real-time connectivity in all of our tax offices in all the 15 counties as well as at all of our border crossings. Once we do that installation, then we will now roll out our tax administration system as well as our Asakuda system, our custom system, in all those places. So the same way people can do electronic filing here in Monrovia, they can do use the Asikuda system to process the shipping documents. All those services now will be available in the counties, as we roll them out. Again, we'll keep you posted when those things become available. We think that by leveraging these kinds of technologies, it will help us to increase our efficiency. It will also help us to minimize the waste and abuse that are in the system due to some of the challenges that we've been experiencing. Another hallmark to tax administration system is transparency and accountability. And I'm happy that one of the themes for these deliberations is transparency. LRA is committed to that, and what we've done is we've taken some measures along those lines as well, and I would just like to speak to a few of them. One is that we have enhanced our audit capabilities and risk enforcement. So, which companies do we audit? Because it's not possible to audit all the companies every year. So you have to have a robust way to decide, based on risk analysis, which companies should go through your audit to make sure that they're compliant with their tax obligation. We are strengthening that mechanism and ensuring that the risk analysis will ensure that we're targeting the appropriate companies that will be able to show us a true reflection of their performance in terms of tax compliance, and hopefully expose those that are not fully compliant and that will be not being fair to the system. We are also strengthening our financial intelligence system, and for this we're working with the Financial Intelligence Agency, and we want to thank them. They have been very cooperative in giving us a lot of information, and these ones have to do with illicit flows. I'll give you an example. If the Financial Intelligence Agency notices that a certain bank account is moving high volume of money throughout the month, okay, then they'll flag it to LRA. Then we'll go inside and look, what are you doing to be transferring 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 almost every week? And then also, if our business is doing, then we'll check to see the kind of taxes you pay. Because if you're doing business that making that kind of money, then it gotta be reflected in the kind of taxes you pay. Yeah. And if we find out that maybe you're not doing business or you're not paying the right kind of taxes, then of course now we say, okay, let's go audit the person, let's see where they're getting the money from. So those things have helped us greatly, and we are strengthening those as well. We are also strengthening our internal integrity frameworks. That is, we want to make sure that we that are in LRA have to be on best behavior and best performance at all times. Because you can't be a person collecting the taxes, then you're doing small cockroach then on the side, you're not all right for the country. So we have revised our internal protocols and procedures, our internal policies to strengthen them. Once our goal gets confirmed, we want to take those revised and updated documents to the board to make sure that our internal policies are very strong. The additional thing I want to talk about is, and this is something we'll be inviting most of you to shortly, we have developed a new portal that will give everybody, the entire Liberian populace, a real-time insight into our revenue collection. So this portal is a website. You will go there and you will see the revenue that we are generating as we are generating it. We'll give you that information real time. It updates every 30 minutes. So if you look at the figures at this time, 30 minutes later when you come and look if it's a working day, business day, you will notice that it would have changed. Because as we process the payments in our tax system, it will pick up the payment information and the different tax plans and report them on this portal. So it will be really transparent. We all will be able to see whether that real estate we're collecting, whether that payroll taxes we're collecting, whether that corporate income tax, or whether that company paying a social corporate responsibility or making contribution to the University of Liberia, whatever it is they're paying, we'll make it available in the public domain online. So we're working to finalize that website, and it will soon be available. And also what is interesting about it is that we collect the money through the commercial banks, and the money goes to the central bank. Then we have to do a reconciliation. We're also making that visible. So the banks that are collecting the money, the amount of money they're collecting, the amount of money they're moving, the amount they're supposed to move, will make all of that available in the public domain so that there is complete transparency in the work that we're doing. And then also to give the public an opportunity to be a part of the revenue generation process. Because our ultimate target is to enhance voluntary compliance. Because we think when we get to the point of achieving voluntary compliance, most of the problems that we have with under-declaration and non-compliance will be minimized. We want to now call on all of us. I've spoken to Citizen Action throughout my speech, but I'd like to specifically call on the citizenry to please pay their taxes. Because payment of taxes is not just a legal duty, it is actually a patriotic investment in our country. We want our children to go to good schools. We want to be able to ride on good roads. We want, if we get sick or any family member gets sick, we want to go to hospital and make sure that they will not give up people to go look for medicine someplace. That will get treatment in the hospitals when we go there, especially the government facilities. We want the police to be efficient. We want the army to be efficient. We want our teachers to be efficient. The way all these things are supported is through the taxes that we pay. So we want to call on the citizenry to please work with us, pay your taxes, pay all of the different kinds of taxes that you're supposed to pay. It is your legal obligation, but it is also your patriotic duty to this country. To policy makers, we're going to all of them. We're finishing. Yeah. To policy makers, we call on all policy makers to support the LRA's reform agenda. We've always indicated that, look, to make billions of dollars in this country, we think we can do that. But we need to all work together. There are policy reforms that are necessary to enhance this. And so we want to call on all of the policy stakeholders to work with us with our reform agenda, policy reform agenda, to ensure that revenue policies, that are aligned with the AID, are properly aligned, and that we can be able to raise the revenue we need to enhance our national development. To our development partners, we want to thank you because you continuously work with us, especially regarding enhancement of domestic resource mobilization capacity. We want to encourage you for us to continue this partnership. Let us increase and strengthen this partnership because, look, we will need you always because we're partners, but the best way to help us is if we all align on a path of supporting Liberia for self-determination. And we think one of the paths to self-determination is to ensure that we are capable of raising domestic revenue because this is how we'll get long-term sustainable development in our country. So we want to thank you. We think that increasing your investments in domestic resource mobilization is actually a good way of investing in sustainable development in Liberia. We want to call on civil society, and this includes the media. We want to tell you, we want to admonish you to continue being the right girls that you are. Continue to hold the government feet to the fire. Continue to hold public officials accountable. Continue to hold the government accountable. And that's some of the reasons we're making our website on our revenue generation transparent. We will make it available to you so that you can go in there and see who is not doing well, what is not doing well, and then we can all work together to ensure that given that level of transparency, there can be accountability. So please continue to do those work. Together, I say let's build Liberia because every dollar collected is important for our national development. Thank you.
Yeah. Keep okay, huh? And declare. All right, good day. Ministry of Affairs and Tourism, the Government Town Hall Initiative. Come, let's talk it. We are talking it now. It's good. So you listen to them on our theme today, smart spending, shared growth, building an inclusive Liberia under the AAID. And they talked two things today, as outlined by the Ministry of Information. They talked about the breakdown of the current budget allocation. The minister spoke about that. Followed by our revenue chief on the mobilization of fair taxes in this country. So we will now take questions. First shot. We don't want to say what do you want to look at it now? Okay. So we want to take from this one. Please do not direct all the questions to one person because you have seen it before here. A big one. Yes. So we want to take 4 women, 4 men real quick. Yes. Yeah, minister said, yeah, well, Bibi men every of the country was that budget in anyway, so any woman? Oh yeah. You able to come? Come now. One question, one person. No can say I ask 2 people the question. No. One question, one person. And one question for you.
Go after Mary stand before you people question intimacy. Why do people explain? What the government do about the Sabo National Park? Why the illegal people they there and people get time? What the government do about it? From town to town, that party. Where people are there? What people are out there when they go down, they take a picture. What people are there when they fall down, the people, they want to go take a picture. But when they tell that go from there, I want to go down and I want to go from. So we are not asking government. From town to town, that power will be over there. People will be money there. I want to ask the government.
Government town hall, you heard the woman. Any answer to that? Five questions? It might be boring for the speakers. Can you keep the answer this? Yes.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs and Tourism, I want to answer this question. So I'm the Deputy Minister of National Heritage Park. You have not been abandoned. We are working with FDA. We are working with the environmental group. And we want to say that these issues are issues that are being addressed, but particularly you might not notice it at your level at this point. So the Sabo National Park, we understand you see other people that don't look like you. That is normal, that is tourism, that is culture. So the only thing I would say here is, if you see people committing crime, at this point, just reach out to us. But we're working on strategies as to how we can keep this park safe, because Liberia has the largest amount of bird species. People can come here and watch birds and pay us for that. So all of these parks are very important. We are not, it's not like we abandon you or we don't know what we're doing. We are working on strategies how we can protect these parks. So I hope that addresses your question. Yeah.
So thank you, Madam Deputy Minister. Let me just clear one thing before we continue the question. The day we clear, we see that Ministry of Information coming talk. Then I can't really ask them. Right now, they are getting frustrated because anytime they spend their money, they try to get the people up, you go and see them right back. So it's a problem that we know exists, and it's a problem that we're still trying to solve. But you know one of the things that doesn't happen? before we fall and walk. Anybody to just join the Sabo Park? I will walk and do. I one of the reasons why we will never go back to war. So we're working with people, even the EU ambassador, she can say that yes, they've been working with the government on this.
You hear me? Thank you. You're already talking about the one in the middle. We'll take from the back. Where they say we took from the front. Yeah, you come. Yes. I told you everybody can go heaven. So let me tell you. Exactly. No, go to the mic over there. Mics are in the pew, man. Don't come to me.
Thank you. Firstly, Section 8 of the Federal Revenue Code talks about inflation adjustment. It means because 2011 they made this law and the base was 70 at the time. It means that somebody became $100 will make separate law in Section 8 of the Federal Revenue Code. Thank you.
Who should answer that? What are you? Minister of Finance, yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the question. We are on a path of reform, and sometimes the reform process moves not as fast as we want, because there are unintended consequences for applying a lot of reforms. This particular issue is an issue that we are seized with. There's ongoing conversation in government on how we can align ourselves with the law and also deal with the unintended consequences. So as time goes by, between now to the new budget is an issue in government, because it's not only people out of government that are affected, people in government. The net implication, we also have a revenue impact. The last time we checked, it would translate to a temporary revenue drop of almost 34 billion. You know, we have revenue allocated for health, education, and others. As we take that out, we got to find a way to temporarily adjust, although we know in the long run it's going to have a positive effect on the economy. So as it's noted, it's been worked on, there's conversations on, there are legal discussions, even incorporating the lawyers. But I can tell you that in the next, not too long from now, there will be a firm decision, and then we'll come up publicly on what is going to happen.
Thank you, Minister. We just realized that our speakers actually cover all 4 topics. So we're going to just take questions. Meaning we are increasing our question load from 8 to what? 12. Don't worry, we're not taking by that kind of way. Yes, please. They say no government man talking. You government man. What now? You do like that with that way. It doesn't work like that. Myself should do. Come closer. Yes.
So, I'm the student Salim. I'm a library journalist and I report for ABC Radio 105.7. My question goes to Mr. Gafwan. There's this ongoing debate currently in the country where there's an ongoing debate in the country where people are saying this is my project, this is a project, that's why as the Minister of Finance, he can give us a picture of what the government inherited and what
Over. Please let that be another day.
people's project.
Yeah.
The projects of government are the people's project. The Syria complex today, in 2012, I signed the agreement with the Chinese ambassador there. Salim, former President Salim was in the back. There are pictures of that effect. $60 million great agreement. This structure is the second largest infrastructure built by the Chinese on the continent of Africa, next to the Asian building. But it is not my project. It is not Madam Salim's project. It is not a political. As we speak, I came here a little late because I was at the Ministry of Agriculture. We are doing what we call sectoral deep dives. Yesterday, I was at the Ministry of Works. You see that public works projects are going on in the communities and across the country. We are speeding up delivery, whether it is public works, whether it is agriculture. We have more than double the allocation. We're talking possibly about value chain and agricultural enterprise bank. You know, what I see in terms of infrastructure, we are also giving support to the power sector based on what we call energy compact. President Boakai was in Tanzania leading the charge. Our ambition is to take energy access from the current 33% to 75% in 5 years. And we are happy that the end of the people, these projects are for the people.
Thank you. My name is.
Speak louder than that.
My name is Kenneth N. Robert. I represent Hope for You. We are involved in talking about trust. So I wanted to ask the minister. Your presentation was very excellent. You talked about the Ministry of Health, just the ministry adding a PO, but something that worried me I didn't hear was you didn't talk about how much the government put in for youth and sport and how much the government sent in to the
Yes, the allocation on that.
Are you listening to him? I want to ask a question. Listen, you ask question for this.
I remember there is a program under the Georgia Enforcement Agency called Push Must Go. It's been supported. I've forgotten the allocation, but I think it's upwards or a little in the ballpark of $1 billion. Also, the Ministry of Health is intervening in that sector. There are partners whose support are going to that sector. So I may not remember the detail, but let me say this. Besides, how do we intervene to reduce the impact of what I call social deviancy generally, where our young people on a good path, tomorrow they slip. Let me say what we're doing generally, besides just amounts to drugs, because that is now trying to deal with the effect. Schools, they need to build more prisons, reduce. So through the Ministry of Education, one and some support we've attracted through a project called the Excel project. Most schools are going to be built. Beginning I think September, the Ministry of Education was not our dedication to the spring meeting. More than 100 schools will be built across the country for foundational learning, and we are supporting secondary and tertiary education. When we do those, we keep people on track. We also expand the economy. The investment in roads, the investment in energy will create more jobs. When more jobs are created, the temptation to deviate or to fall on the wayside will reduce. So while you may just look for appropriation for on drug abuse, but we have to also deal with it in a preventive manner. So all the interventions we are doing, the net convergent effect is
yes, sir. Talk loud. You are making noise there. Talk loud. Okay.
My question goes to. My question goes to.
I said the background noises. Thank you.
According to the LRI boss, who goes by the name. Okay, he says that they are probably will be bringing in technical machines that will make citizens pay their tax or do their amount for other things. So my question is, are you guys pushing for it or just saying it to make the public feel happy?
hello.
The hall is noisy. The hall is noisy. Sorry. Please.
Yes, so that's a very good question. Let me just respond to it. If you listen to me, my brother, you would have heard me say that we are currently deploying. What that means is that we are in the process of going to the businesses and putting, in fact, for the electronic fiscal devices, we already started this project a long time ago. What we are doing now is just enhancing it. So as we speak, we are in the process of taking the devices to the stores and working with the store owners so that we can be able to make them to utilize those things. I spoke about the Starlink devices. Last year, September, we imported 50 of it, and those 50 are currently being deployed. We've deployed to about 20 sites already, and we are still doing the deployment. And as we deploy, we'll roll out.
Next person. Student. Yes. Far over, please. Come on. You're all bringing the telephone. That's all right.
My name is I'm from the Republic of My question goes to Mr. Basin.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that
but she really pronounced it 100% correct. Thank you very much. The last time I was in this job, we thought we had solved the problem of monetary teachers. In fact, we got a system that we from Houston.
You see, that's why I don't like to call you. You want to see one baby to come, you keep the place busy with noise. So we may not even pay.
Last time, we put teachers on a different skill. Different skill. At the time, teachers in private schools used to make more than government teachers. But we reversed that scenario. That private school teachers started to come to government. Went back to the banks to confess they thought they had committed a crime, to see more money in their account. But it was deliberate. So it was because to change the quality of this country, we must change the quality of the classroom. This government is committed to that. The president, the minister of education, the entire cabinet, we committed to that. I told you in my intro that part of the interventions that went this year was to increase the pay of those teachers that were being paid below their levels. We have professional levels that we pay numbers will be more than 8,000 or so. In this year's budget, we gave allocation so that the Ministry of Education can begin to address our problems. I think they might have added, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe for the 2,000 persons on the payroll, and they're not just adding people. We want people to enter the classroom, but we want quality. We have to make sure that the right people are the ones teaching our students, our future leaders. Otherwise, they will just focus on quantity, and that quality will have harmed this country. Now, the issue you raised that culminated into some demonstration. I don't want to give details because the legal process, some things are subject is under legal review. In this regard, let me recognize the presence of the Lord Mayor of the city of Monrovia, Honorable John Sharu Shafa, who is the chair of the Monrovia Consolidated School System, right? And then I cannot recognize him without recognizing the Ukoyan County 1, people of Monrovia, the superintendent of Monrovia, Honorable right here. So, the MCSS situation, we clear that to the extent that someone can be validated as a clear volunteer, we will solve the problem, we'll put the question on the payroll. But we saw some unusual movements in the number of people that were called volunteers because we had committed. In no time, the number skyrocketed. We have asked the CSA to vet. And I think the CSA is concluding or has just concluded its report. Those that will be vetted as true volunteer teachers, the government will be obligated to pay them. But those that will be considered wishy-washy, we'll put them out of the classroom. And we are getting indications that some of them want to create unnecessary pressure, you know. I will give you this thing here. When you go to the SKD, let me give you this. I'm an OIE. I'm an IE fan. When you don't have a good ticket, and the people that get legitimate ticket, you know, those that don't have the good ticket, you know why they want to have it at the gate? They can want stampede so that everybody enter. So creating real buffer right at the gate. The real teachers will admit them, will pay them. Those wishy-washy, those people that don't have the minimum thing, will not make them to enter. No matter their schemes, no matter their schemes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Go ahead. Come closer. Come closer.
Is our concern, is the concern of the president, is the concern of the entire government. I know how mothers are close to their children. Forget that, we'll never forget that, because that's why we're working overtime. This is a national challenge, and if we could just snap the finger and say everything is solved today, we will snap the finger. But it's bigger than snapping the finger. We have some money in the budget to address some of the effects, but we're investing in teaching the entire country. When we build a road, as we are focusing on now from here to Harvard, when we build a road from Manga to Menikoma, as we are focusing on now, when we build all the community roads, I told you that beginning September, so the country will expand. There will be more need to be on the right path. So what I see, my mother, is a brighter future for our children. Let's continue to work. And I said something before. I ran into trouble, but I have no apologies. Continue to pray for your country. We are on the right track.
Thank you. May I work out? Yes. Am I very calm? I'm talking now. Let me do that. Go ahead, man. Get the ball, I hear you.
Thank you. So we would love to say thank you to.
Come closer and speak louder.
I would love to say thank you to the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism for organizing this town hall dialogue. My concern, my question goes to the Minister of Finance. The people of Liberia voted in 20. So I'm Ole Emmanuel Yan and I'm the propaganda chair of the Revolutionary Vanguard. From the polling bureau Central Community.
Well, the man, a former member.
Yes. So my question is, in 2023, the people of Liberia made a decided decision to usher in the rescue agenda. The rescue agenda have created a roadmap called the A agenda, which is the arrest agenda. In that agenda, people 6.6 talk about human capacity building and education. Mr. Minister, according to the latest 2022 census report, you have a population of around 5 million. Of that 5 million, you have 60% of that population are young people. If you look at the reflection of the national budget, which you have said the ministry, the budget given to education has increased, which are completed D4 way because there is only an equilibrium or for example, in 2024 the budget envelope was 600 million. In 2025 the budget envelope is 800 million. The underlying factor is the Ministry of Education in 2024 was given 30 million, in 2025 still giving 30 million. So there's no increment. There were only maybe an increment in the envelope sizes that led to increment in maybe the revenue alone. But the issue here is a government that has 60% of the young people in this country going to school will appropriate 13% of the total revenue envelope with a sector that is barely underperforming, because when you look at the UNESCO deep briefing report of 2025 February 1st, that report says that for young people.
So what's your point? Hit your point where? When you all the details, who told them time? Hit your point, sir.
Okay, so let me get the point. Don't you think, Mr. Minister, that your government is betraying the trust of the young people?
Minister, yes, I think you understood your fellow kaki. Well, Minister. We listen to the minister. Minister, use this one. Thank you.
When you talk about comrade what? Fode Manwanya. Thank you very much for the question. And let me give this clarification. You know, many sectors are considered key to the country. In fact, there are protocols based on sector. I think there is one sector, if I'm not mistaken, is agriculture. They have something called the Putu, yes, yeah, agriculture.
Yes.
I think nothing less than 15% of the budget to be allocated. Education has one of those capitals. One of them is Abuja and one somewhere. F has another convention. You know, maybe it is the Freetime Hall. And then name another sector. Tourism. How much have the stakeholders of that sector mandated or agreed that the government should give? Minimum. Tourism, right? ICT. The entire ICT community. They have met in one capital also. You know, they have minimum. What they say is, rule of law, the rule of law, governance is considered very key. All these sectors are very important. All. In fact, investment in one reinforces achievement in the other. So if we're looking at education in a narrow perspective, you're only be looking at education allocation. But agriculture affects education. Health. If people are not healthy, if the children are not healthy, you know what will happen to education. So everything is interconnected. Infrastructure. Why are we emphasizing roads? Why? Good infrastructure makes it easier for students. Why are we emphasizing electricity? It affects education. Why you may not see it, but good electricity, make sure that you don't have light in the classroom and what have you. Why are we emphasizing ICT? It has education online. I could go on and on to talk about the interconnectivity of development to education. So, I told you too, that besides what we give in the government budget, we are the ones that go and mobilize external resources. And we are mobilizing resources. The last time I was at the World Bank annual meeting, we were concluding negotiation with a partner group called the Global Partnership for Education, where they gave me more than $60 million for education. And it's adding up to a World Bank support that will be more than $100 million. Why are they going to go to? The school project I was talking about, I thought it was schools. What about any schools? When you check the government budget, you will see those things in there. Agriculture. If I tell you the amount of donor funding we've attracted to agriculture, humongous. The government's budget may not have as much. So sometimes, and I said in the beginning, that I would sorry for this technical word, the peripheral analysis would be to just look at what you see in the budget. What we are doing is to show you the entire package. The new budget we're coming up with will show you what we've attracted and what is being allocated to education in whole. The total package. One of the reasons why we are concerned, we are concerned with the USAID. We didn't talk about that, but let me get into that. USAID was one of the biggest donors to education. And we were the ones pushing them, agreeing with them to put the money in education. So if we prioritize that you building these schools in education, the government budget will not take that up. We deal with some of the recurrent implications of that support. So when we put the entire package together, our appropriation for education, in fact, human capital in the AARD Next to infrastructure, the entire ARD, the cost is about 8.34 billion United States dollars. Human capital, where education is key, is the second largest. I think we're more than 2 billion if I'm not mistaken. Next to infrastructure. So the education agenda is taken seriously. When you're looking at education, look at the interconnectivity of all the interventions, how they have a beneficial, positive, long-term effect on education. Thank you.
Man, what do the motorbike man? What the motorbike man? Keke man? Is that a man? Come quick. Hurry up. We can't take everybody. We are instructed now to take one more after this man is shut down. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much. I am John A.F. Kenya, and I'm in a full capacity as the President General of the Monrovia region of Sako and Trasako, Liberia, representing over 350,000 commercial partners in the country. Well, having listened to the Minister, Madam Besto, I really want to appreciate the message of sending out good message of Liberia on internet widely. Now, I also want to appreciate the Ministry of Information for this great initiative. Having listened to the Minister of Finance and the
on this, what is your point?
I'm going to the point.
Please go to your point.
Now, Honorable Minister, my exact, don't please give me a chance. I'm making
that chance, you're not applying the chance.
I'm applying the chance.
Please do.
Now, having listened to the Minister of Finance and LRA boss, I listened to LRA boss, he said last year and this year he boasted of generating more funds, taxes, and the motorcycle and Trasako said there is no exception when it comes to paying taxes. On our watch, we talk about every citizen contributing immensely to the development agenda of the country. And now we are talking about something to contribute. Now, Honorable Minister, it is my view on behalf of our families. We are begging you with every contribution we are making towards the development agenda of our country. We want you to please include in the next budget year the motorcyclists and the truck cyclists for budgetary allotment. Thank you also for
all the fees you collected.
Their goals may be different from supporting just the leadership of the Motorcycling Association to run the entity. To run the entity sometimes may not be, there may not be a one-to-one correspondence between supporting that entity and supporting the interest sector. Sometimes. But I can tell you that through the LRA, the government, Ministry of Commerce, we are going to be discussing ways and means, smart strategies to intervene so that that sector can move from what I call informality to formality.
All right.
You all are contributors to the economy. You want to be at this level and you don't want to transition to another level. You want to have pen, they don't own, have keke, they don't own. You have a bus company. Those kinds of ideas on transitioning you from the bottom to the top. That's the kind of conversation we're going to be having. And we welcome, we're going to have some consultations with all of you. So you bring your ideas and what we can do as a government to support, because you're a private sector actor that we respect. Now, as to your entity, the structure that you control as the President General, we will discuss, because we want to see to what extent the fees and dues collected from your group.
Yeah, thank you, Minister. Thank you. Stop right there.
John.
The owner is the last man.
John.
Oh, Larry, yes. Yes. Let's do shit, man.
Yeah, Mr. President General, if you have the time, when this program is finished, please meet with me, because we have a program, like the minister mentioned, to see how we can formalize, you guys who are in that space, from informal to formal. I would like to discuss that with you so that we can link you up with the appropriate people in LRA for us to accelerate our progress. So the way to benefit from a lot of government conservation services is you need to formalize. Unfortunately, many of your operators are in the informal sector. So the first step is let's get you into formalization and then bring you into the tax net. So we're willing, seriously, we're willing to work with you. So please see me right after here so we can start to make some
All right, so the
Don't tell the question, the last question.
all political observers. This is the general coordinator of the National Governance Council of Liberia. Because of us, our high-ranking superintendent sitting here, 9 many cases goes to court. He has instructed us, help government to help you. So we have a rule or regulation in our government council that any trial, don't carry your friend to court until you reach our office. And most cases, we have handled it at the governor's level. But it is sad to mention, St. Martin's first year of administration when she gave us a vehicle through Monrovia Broad. And we kept that vehicle for 9 years since it damaged. Honorable Minister of Finance, whenever we are invited to any meeting, we ride keke or motorbike on our own with the very low salary that we are making. We are 52 governors, but only 33 on payroll. The rest of them, our honorable superintendent is very generous. He will say, my people, please wait, the appropriate time will come when all of you will be on salary. But so for this mission, we respect him, we love him, and we are on our duties. The last one is, is it possible? So they want is it possible for the government in the far future to please allow all our resources that are leaving this country by these people who are not investing in Liberia? Look at Trump Road. Look at other roads where concessions are.
right. So, establishing this group of elders, the wise men and women. As I said from the outset, there are a lot of ways that people justify budget. In the budget preparation process, we go out, we hear from the community. Community outreach is one of the things we do. In fact, I brought with me my chief budget community outreach person, Caroline Myers. Is she around? You see, in fact, fortunately, she's sitting with the chiefs. So we take notes. And with these notes I use in preparation. And Monrovia did this thing, brought us here so that we can hear and take notes for action in the budget process. So we've been, the Governors Council is different from the chiefs and other stuff. Because we've been supporting, but we will take note and that we do our best within the limits of the constraints.
All right.
The other question you asked,
Go down
about our goal, our diamond, our resources. You could have said it better. There's current conversation, and I can tell you that I, as Minister of Finance, and a lot of people that know in government, we are not wavering. We had some tough conversations. We call it the Liberia First Agenda. The Liberia First Agenda. There are some things that are topical. There are some, I wouldn't go into details, but the right of the country is being protected by the president. And we will all support that. I will allow the NRA chair because he was just on a visit to some of these places. He came from there with impressions that are in line with some of the things you say. Then he gave you 1 or 2 minutes.
Thank you, Minister. It's good that the governor brought up this point.
Thank you.
Because this is a point that interests the government as a whole. And like the minister said, it's actually a heart-breaking discussion going on now within the executive. So we decided that we will go and observe some of these operations. And we made a first trip this past weekend. We went to Great Cape County to B Mountain to observe the process. We observed the process, we had a meeting with them, we were in the boardroom where they can smell the gold. We were there, they smelted the gold, we observed the process. We have a meeting with them again, they explain to us what the next steps are. They put the gold bars in the boxes, we have a representative there, Ministry of Mines has a representative, they seal it up. They flew it from the mine to Rabasfield to export it on Brussels Airlines. We were at the airport on Sunday before the airline would come to observe the entire process. We've observed that process. We know the quantity that was taken out that week, and we have an idea of the projection for the rest of the year. We also know what Liberia is getting from it, and many of us are not too pleased with the whole arrangement. But it's a long conversation that we're having, and like the minister said, we hope our target is to make sure that Liberia's best interest is what is upheld. When you hear me talking about we can easily raise $1 billion, we can do several billion, if we all work together, and some of the places there are our boy. And I want to make sure that we can be able to get our fair share of our mineral resources so that we can be able to develop this country, because we don't want God to do us. So rest assured, Governor, that this is something that is a major priority of this government.
Thank you.
All right.
here representing the Christian organization throughout the MRU. And my question is very direct. We've seen a huge loss in employment and revenue by the cut down in USAID funding in the country. So the two-in-one question to both of you.
No.
It's not a direct question.
One person to one.
All right.
Let's do that.
What exactly is the government doing to address that cut, and how are we trying to increase our revenue mobilization base to have more revenue for the budget? And in the face of the ruling of the Supreme Court, what is the current state of our national budget? Thank you very much.
Two questions you asked me, taking one. Answer the LRA one.
So in my deliberations, I think I laid out some of the things that we're doing to increase our domestic revenue collection. So unless you have specific issues you want to ask about some of those things, I think we've already spoken to them. Yeah. So I think the other part has to do with the other aspect of the question.
Since you answer that way, Minister, you hear his question about budget? Mama, you want to repeat that budget question? Quickly, don't make it long. Because I mean, you talk, I want to allow the other man to talk.
No, I know. So
you don't know, I know.
So the Supreme Court gave a ruling that everything we put here at the time was not in line with legal principles and everything. So was the budget at the time. I don't know what to position as the chief financier of the state as Minister of Finance. What do you think is the state of our current budget? Is it an instrument that is legal that we're working with, or are there other processes or systems in place to allow all the elections actions, including salary payments of judges and everything that has been happening, continue to go on? Civil servants have been taking salary. So what exactly is your position as Minister of Finance?
Do you understand it, sir? Yes. The last question. You describe it. I'm acting under instruction. Please understand that.
You talked about.
When they tell me one question, repeat that. Good. Thank you.
I wanted to know firstly, before I come to your budget question, you wanted to know the impact of the USAID cut, right? Well, USAID was our second largest donor next to the World Bank. World Bank is Liberia's biggest donor. USAID second largest. Their total commitment in aid was upwards of $400 million. In November, I had signed a $115 million support, increased support to health, education, agriculture with the American ambassador and the USAID director. In February, out of the 29 projects USAID was implementing, we firstly heard that all the projects were suspended, but as we speak, 27 of those projects have been cancelled. They include support to the Ministry of Health for drugs and to education, school feeding and others. I will go into details. We have a mini employment crisis we're dealing with because some of our citizens who were recruited in a very base way and were impacting on the community have become jobless. And that we are dealing with many things at this point. We in total, in terms of dollars and cents, the amount of projects that have been cancelled amounts to I think a little more than $360 million. To use it. But as a government, you're more interested in what we are doing. The LRA Commissioner General told you some of the things. We are taking deliberate steps to increase our capacity to generate revenue for ourselves. It is other people's goodwill to us. We cannot tie the future of this country only to aid. He said something, maybe you guys didn't take note of that the percentage of external support in the budget has drastically reduced. 90%. Last year's budget, we had only 40 million, a little more than 40 million for external support. 690 million was budgeted for domestic resource generation. And the NRA, generated 698. So we expanding the tax base. Expanding the tax base is not just a matter of increasing taxes on people. There's something called efficiency of tax administration. The way you collect taxes, we plug in little loopholes, making the process more efficient. If we make it easier for taxpayers to pay taxes, we collect more. So this thing that he's talking about, using technology, when he's talking about having these electronic fiscal devices everywhere, it's going to increase transparency, and transparency increases revenue. So we're going to launch it this month. So we're supporting that agenda. We're increasing the tax in other ways. But one of the things, and sorry, I'm taking some time with this. I told you about the engagement, deep dive engagement at agriculture, right? Yesterday, I was at Public Works with my whole team. Tomorrow, we are at the Ministry of Health. Next week, we're going to education. And let me give you the reason. We are discussing how to move fast. Speed is money. Under the government budget, we have allocation for these entities. Well, it's one thing to have the allocation. Our president has said this budget is nothing but sheets. You can have it here, and suppose you don't get it out. Then all this becomes nothing but, an instrument of deception. How quickly can we get the resources to the entities to deliver? So that's what I'm working on. But besides that, these entities benefit from significant donor support. The World Bank alone, their project, the World Bank commitment to Liberia is almost 900 million. Almost a billion. The disbursement rate is low, just around 15%. So think about it. This is money already there. If we, based on our action, deal with all the inefficiencies, including on the part of the partners, we triple disbursement rate. It is money flow. It's money flow. So it's not a matter of only going cry for new work, new money. The money we have, are we leveraging? Are we accessing? Are we putting the money in the banks, in the economy? So from these engagements, we are coming up with some efforts for speed. We said we'll be intolerant with delays. If it's on our side of finance, we're going to take action. If it's on the side of a project coordinator, you're supposed to do this work for 2 days. You're spending 2 months. We're going to take action. So you will see delivery being ratcheted up all across the sectors because of what we're doing. So in that will help the economy. Money will turn around. The one dollar will collect more, and we'll get more money. And we'll get more money. Okay, coming to your question on budget, to what? Ministry of Information? Let me say this. We at the Ministry of Finance key, and we understand the topical issues. We are supportive of progress, and I will deliberately not give details in order to support progress. So, as we speak, we are focusing on raising money so that whether you are the Supreme Court or the legislature or you are the governor and what have you, we can raise money and do more for the people. That's our job. The conversations that are going on, you know, we sit and hope and pray. For me, I pray. Those who don't pray, they know what to do. I pray. And from all indications that God loves this country. This country will make progress. So forgive me for once. I've answered a lot of your questions in details. But to support where we are in the process, I cannot give you details.
Thank you. And the minister is right. We are a victim of the USA withdrawal. So this is not a joke. The other truth he said is that inefficiency is killing us. We Liberians are not illiterate. Sometimes we send millions back. I know that. I've been in the NGO sector and I'll remain there to the death. I know what we do. We hold money, sometimes intentionally, for no reason, and the people can't say, okay, you're going to use 20 million, we're taking it back. It's happening in Liberia. People hungry is sending money back. That is the true minister. I hope you will really welcome that. Let people get fired for letting money go back. It's not good. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to close. We want to get a vote of thanks. But before that, we are happy today. This has been the lunch of the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Government Town Hall. GTH, according to Minister Jeremy McPierre, and STEM, this will go around the country. If you're not satisfied today with some of the answers, you will get them in your locations as they run around. And so we are happy. The theme today, smart spending, shared growth, building an inclusive Liberia under the AAID. Subtitle, transforming budgets and policies. And they address resource, that's tax mobilization. They address the thing about tax or money allocation in budget. Very good presentations today. This is a great opportunity. You have the time for a minister to come sit with you all this while. It's a great initiative. I have been struggling with this around this country. We're smelling now that the government is joining in. This is really good. So we want to get a vote of thanks from Daniel O. Samuel, Assistant David. David Minister for Information. Thank you. Imam Rasa. Mike there? Okay, good. That's not true.
Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, we'd like to say thanks to all of you. This initiative is part of the ministry's own innovative way of modifying government communication. Today is just the launch. We intend to take it outside of Monrovia County. So we consulted with the minister, and the next edition of the government town hall will be held in Nema County. Another thing I also want to put out there is that this program has been recorded. Everything that happened today was recorded or is being recorded. It will be produced by our partner, Mr. John Colley, who is a veteran in the business. It will be spread out to community radio stations across the country so that the people can see how engaging the government is and how open we are to ensuring accountability and transparency in the conduct of the government business. To our panelists, we'd like to say a big thank you. As busy as you are, you took up the time, you've been sitting here in the last 2 hours to share your thought with us. It's part of your duty as public officials, but I know it was a difficult choice to make between a very tight schedule to say, oh, I prioritize Mika, I'm going to I saw this on the phone, come here, pick your time, go to the Ministry of Agriculture. So you're very engaged, but we respect the fact that you prioritize our own program and you came to us. Mr. Gafwan, sustainability for this initiative is a problem for us. You know that Mika is one of the, if not the least, among the least funded entity of government. With the innovation of our minister, we wouldn't be nowhere today. We've tried to renovate our building through the innovative leadership. That innovative leadership has landed us here. We've done it, we launched it. We want to sustain it. When we sustain it, it will work for the government, it will work for the people of Liberia. So that is an earnest plea to you, Mr. Finance Minister. With that being said, I'd like to appreciate the office of the superintendent for working with us to ensure that we can have the elders, the governors here to listen and to participate. We say thank you to Linsu Flag, the motorcyclist union, the Congress from the University of Liberia, you all came. We want to make it very participatory as always, because we all have a stake in the national leadership of our country. By engaging national leaders, by engaging policy makers, they too will know what you are thinking. They too will know what you are thinking, and they will make amends in the way they go about making those policies. To our sponsors, you were initially recognized, but again, we like to echo that this program would have been a success without your contribution. The LRA, the Central Bank of Liberia, the Liberia Telecommunication Authority, the LPRC, will help us a whole lot to make this program a success, and we appreciate their intervention. So on behalf of our Minister, Jeremy Mapia, on behalf of every member of the senior management team at the Ministry of Information, we'd like to say thank you for coming. And thank you. We look forward to seeing all of you in Nima. I mean, the people of Nima, we are coming there. Thank you very much. Just an announcement, we have a little lunch out there for you. I don't know whether it's lunch or it's refreshment. Refreshment out there for you. We will start with the elders to be followed by the students. Please not for the elders in the line. And then before we go outside the hall, we'll post a photograph with the minister, the panelists, and then they will stay on top, and then the elders will fall below, and then we follow by others. Thank you very much. So now, John Paul, please lead on the way.
Before we follow now, ladies and gentlemen, goodbye.